Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Moment Unplugged podcast, a space of holistic growth, impactful and safe conversation, embracing every moment of our lives because we know the author. Cheers to sharing joy, peace, and love, and embracing your story. My name is Mandisa Singwane. Thank you for clicking play and tuning in today. I appreciate you. Hello everyone, my name is Mandisa Singwane and welcome back to the Moments Unplugged podcast. Thank you so much for coming again if you're a regular, and if you're new here, hi, and I hope you stay. This is episode 7 of season 2. I think this episode might be quick and short. I always say this, but it turns out not to be, but we'll see. But I really hope you enjoy this episode and you can get something from it. Thank you so much for being here today and for listening in. So, 10 months, 2 seasons, 17 episodes. And now the end has arrived. What a journey. I never expected it, to say the least. I never expected it. I didn't see it coming. But we'll get into it. So the topic of this episode was actually inspired by a dear friend of mine. I had no idea what the last episode of 2024 would be, but she gave me a topic, and obviously you know what the title of this episode is by now, which is Thanksgiving, and I liked it, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. And just to wrap things up and just to seal the deal, you know what I mean, and to conclude what this podcast has been for the year. Let's get into it. So, if you are a regular here, you'll notice that I did a similar topic a few episodes ago. I'm not sure what number. And the title of that episode was Cultivating Gratitude. In this episode though, I just want to reminisce on what 2024 has been for me. And I hope this exercise that I'm about to do now kind of helps you or inspires you to do the same for yourself. I believe it's really important considering that we're obviously closing off one year and going into a new year. I think it's just an essential part of year changes or whatever you want to call it. And I just need to say, I'm Funungasho, and I just need this to be known. And I need to say it for myself for it to sink in. This podcast, being what it is right now, from where it started, blows my mind. Look, I started it knowing very well that I could do it. I didn't have a full picture of what it was going to look like 10 months from now as it looks at the moment. 10 months from then. But what it has become blows my mind. The consistency, the amount of vulnerability I've managed to put out. Obviously, it's not massive amounts of vulnerability. I'm going to get there, but it's going to obviously take some time and some learning to do. But what an achievement. I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back. Not now, obviously, for sound purposes, but geez, man, I just can't believe it. I really can't believe it. I've learned so much in terms of obviously the editing, the uploading, and the systems that are in place for podcasts, but also about myself. It's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I know it's gonna continue to be a journey. And I love it. I just love being blown away by what I can do. You know, when you're just like, can I not? And then you can, and then you're just like, ooh. I was listening to another podcast earlier this week, and Dr. K said, I knew I could do it, but the fact that I did it, no, wait, what did she say? Let me find the words, and then I'll quote her actually, properly. But it stuck with me so much, and wow, I loved it. I loved it so much. But let me quote her, and then we'll carry on with our little episode. Oh, yes. So, like I said, I listened to a podcast and she said, I knew I could do it, but it's crazy to know that I've done it. In me, somewhere, I knew it was possible. But now that it's done, it's like, whoa, That's insane. What? Shock. But yeah. And I really believe we can all have a lot of those moments if we just go back, just look back. I'm not a person who likes to say in hindsight because I feel like hindsight shortens it. But literally, if you look back at everything that has transpired from Jan to now, in hindsight, you can get a lot from that, and it can be quite a moment for you to just kind of reflect on it, and I think it's an important moment before moving on to something else, because there's a lot that you can either learn or appreciate from what has happened before, and I think that's why this episode is important. And so, like I said, I hope this exercise that I'm doing now helps you do the same exercise for yourself. Yeah. So this year also came with so many things that I didn't think were in the works for me anytime soon. And I'm going to name some of them, the ones that are at the top of my head, obviously, and in no particular order. Number one here will be the start or the birth of my brand and its growth thereof. I didn't see that coming. I don't want to lie to you. I did kind of start playing with the idea of having a podcast last year this time, or maybe November, December time in 2023, but I didn't think I would action it. And I didn't think I'd action it in the manner that I did. It was just an idea. Literally, it was just an idea, and then off the whim on a random day in February, it became a thing. Yeah, still blows my mind that I have a brand like this, and that is going to continue to grow, and I know is going to do a lot. Yeah, so stay tuned. Wink wink. Something else is this past year, so I was in a leadership team at school for the year 2023 to 2024. And let me tell you, I was just on the team to lead, add it to my CV, obviously, and make my way out. Like, it was just I didn't think much of it. However, I met my sisters and some women who inspire me so much in that team. And I got to build a little community of my dreams, literally. And I still can't believe it. My dream girls, honestly. What a team. What a phenomenal group of women. It is, wow. Yeah, I've led in many teams before. This one stood out for me. So to those girlies, shout out to y'all, man. Number 3 is I also had quite a stunning academic year, top tier stuff. I didn't expect. I don't know if I can say I didn't expect it, but I didn't have expectations really. So whatever came out of it blew my mind as well. It was kind of like a wow, okay, nice. It obviously had its tough moments. Academics will be academics, but now that I'm looking at it from the side of the of the year, I'm like, oh, wow, So yeah. Alrighty, and number 4 is the fact that some of my friendships grew so much, and I'll forever be grateful. Geez, man. Geez. I also do think something that helped a lot with this part is vulnerability. It does a lot, and I believe that is a topic on its own. It's hard, but once you get it right with the right people, it does beautiful things. And the last point, which is number 5, is I personally also grew so much this year. A lot of it was and still is very uncomfortable, and I really truly honestly don't like it. Low-key, like I don't like being uncomfortable. Please. But I'm also really aware that it's necessary and it has to happen, and so that's how I just kind of keep, I don't know if I can say, consoling myself. Like it's a necessary part of whatever journey I'm on this life and everything else in between. But the growth that has come within me and through my seasons this year has been impeccable, and I'm so proud, man. Yeah. So those are my little points, and we're just going to carry on with this episode, and I'm going to tell you some other stuff that I think enabled my year to turn out as it did. Yeah. So obviously, as I was doing all this, like, introspection, whatever you want to call it, reminiscing, it became really apparent to me that actually what's crazy is I came into 2024 without any goals and without a vision board. Well, I had a vision board, but there were no vision board changes. So the same vision board I had in 2023 is the same one that I have now, which took me through 2024. The only thing that I changed, obviously, on the vision board is the year. But everything else remained the same. And this year in particular, I wrote down no goals, like none, zero. I didn't write them down in my notes on my phone. I didn't write them in any journal. I didn't write them on any device. I don't even think I had any, subconsciously. I mean, you have the normal ones, like I want to do great in school. And yeah, I just want to be fine type thing. But I didn't have anything to achieve, or I didn't have anything that I was working towards. Which is why I said that my podcast shocked me, because I had the idea. I didn't have the goal for it. It was just something that happened in its time. It was very strange to me to notice that. Like, I had nothing. I had this entire year, there was no point where I was ticking off anything, or like, oh my gosh, I've achieved this, or none, zero. Like, zero. When I say zero, I mean zero. Like, and I remember having this conversation with one of my friends this time last year about how I'm not for goals this year, and she kind of validated that makes sense. And I'll let you know why I did it, and why I think it's important and it was necessary for me. So for quite a few years now, and when I say quite, I mean quite a few. I think from the moment I was in grade 6 or 7, which was age 12, 13. I'm now 21. Quite a few years. Every December, I always find the time to kind of sit down and set out what I'd like to achieve, what I'd like to get, or what I'd like to overcome in the next year. But in December 2023, I didn't. I didn't do that at all. And that was intentional. I remember having a conversation with one of my mates, like I said. And I said to her, I feel like every year when I set out goals, it forces me to have a thank you next mentality. Which means I pay little to no mind to the idea of cultivating gratitude, slowing down and celebrating myself. And that's where I think now that this year I've identified the problem. I didn't think it was that deep then, as in last year this time. I didn't think it was that deep. But now that I'm on this side, without having had the goals and the vision board, I'm like, that's exactly what I've been doing for the past few years. I've been, I've done this, what next? I've done this, what next? It's literally, oh, thank you. Okay, wow, well done. Pat on the back. Let's work on the next thing. But this only became apparent to me now because of the way I had to adjust to not having that sort of system in place this year. So I suppose we can say that when I came into 2024, I had the idea of just slowing down and going with the flow. Literally, that was my theme of the year, if I can say it like that, from January. It was like, I don't really know what this year's coming with. I know I'm in varsity. I know I'm in leadership. I was in the leadership team already from last year, August, I believe. So I knew that those two things were going to go for me. But then everything else, I was just kind of like, sizobona masifika. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't have a plan, but the plan will come. And let me tell you, this year shook me, and it continues to shock me. And I feel like once in a while, this type of season or this type of year, intentionally so, is very necessary. Very, very necessary, especially for people like myself. I don't know if I want to classify myself as a type A, but if you have that sort of habit that I just explained about having that to-do list that you just want to tick off and now you don't finish you. I believe this is necessary. And I really hope I change your mind by the time this episode finishes, and I hope you understand why I'm saying this. So with this whole going with the flow type thing, I think I wanted to normalize celebrating myself more and slowing down. But weirdly enough, this year feels like I've achieved much more than I have in a long time. Which in practical sense, I don't think is true. I don't think I've achieved as much as I did maybe like in my high school years. I think matric in particular still stands out. I did a lot in matric. And I really wish I had maybe implemented sort of this mindset back then, because for me, matric still seems like a to-do list. I still can't believe the stuff I have from matric or have achieved from matric, because it was just a to-do list type of thing. But now that I've done it this way this year seems so much more sentimental. But my matric year is still quite a highlight, but it didn't slap as much as it does this year. But I think the difference was how much I paid more attention to what was happening. Like I said, in matric, I was just in my achieving era. I just, light work type vibe. This year, I didn't have that list, and I didn't have that sort of plan. So it was like every moment meant a lot. It meant a lot. It shook me, and I'm stunned. Wow, it really shook me every single time something happened. I think on the past few years, I was so focused on taking off all the goals, I forgot to experience those moments. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I wish I had done this earlier, especially in my matric year. But now I can see where the sweet spot is in slowing down and kind of just allowing things to happen as they should. Yeah, there is a sweet spot. I was kind of scared, obviously. This is something I've never done before. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm just going to be a couch potato this year. And it didn't happen like that. And so this is why I'm saying this might be something I implement once every few years, because it's necessary. It really is necessary. And I believe the growth or the sort of change in mentality that I've had now about slowing down and celebrating my little milestones, big or massive actually, will change the way I approach every other thing in the coming year, in all the years to come. So yeah. So with that being said, this year I had no goals. It was all about the moments. This method really helped me to embrace whatever it is that was happening or continues to happen. I was able to just force myself to continuously embrace. There wasn't a plan. I didn't have an idea of what was supposed to be happening. I was just embracing what was, because I didn't have to focus on the sort of next big thing. Now, what I'm going to do for 2025 is something that I've had to sit with, like, oh, am I going to change the method? Am I going to keep this one? What are we doing? Yeah, it was quite a tricky question for me to ask myself. But I think I've got into a bit of a solution. I obviously love this year and all it had to offer. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the hard stuff. I've loved it. In the moment, I probably wouldn't say this, but now that I'm here, I've loved it. But for 2025, I have kind of set out some rough goals. And when I say rough, I mean rough. It's kind of like those goals that you said, it's an umbrella. And then many things can happen under that umbrella. That's just because I'm giving myself the space to still have the freedom that I had this year. And they're not even too many. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like less than, probably less, maybe 5, plus minus 5. Not too many at all, and I'm planning on using them as sort of a guide rather than a to-do list. In the past, I know I used to use that SMART method. I really forgot what the acronym stands for, but the ones where there's a timeline, guys, those ones. I used to have the SMART method type of thing for my goals. I don't have that this year. I just kind of have a statement, literally. In the different aspects, obviously academics, this is what I want. For my brand, this is what I want, type of thing. But so much can happen under just that specific goal. I haven't stated what that is, and I'm allowing the thing to kind of just play out as it should. But I do have a goal, just to kind of guide me. Like, okay, I wanted to go in this direction, so how can we get there? The how can we get there, I don't have. For this year, or this coming year rather, which is 2025, because I want to give myself the space to not get so fixated on the to-do list and being so time frame guided, you know what I mean? But also, in the same time, just be a bit stricter with myself, because there is a lot of other things that I need to be mindful of in this coming year. So Yeah, that's exactly what I've decided I'm going to do for this coming year. It might change here and there. Obviously, when things develop, I might say, oh, okay, wait, let's change this and make it a bit stricter and let's go in that direction. But like I'm saying, it will play out as it should, and then we'll adjust where needed. Yeah, that's me, and that's what 2024 has been for me, and that's what I've learned from my method of 2024's entire happening. And I really hope you do this exercise for yourself. Like I said, what was this year for you? Was it a to-do list type of year? Do you want to slow down? Do you celebrate yourself? There's so many questions that you can ask yourself just from what I've been saying. And I believe it's necessary questions to ask yourself, because I don't think, if you don't notice it, I don't think someone else will actually notice it for you. This requires a lot of personal truth and vulnerability. Yeah. Anywho, I say all this to say this year I made quite a lot of changes, and they were necessary. This year has also grown me, and it still continues to do so. It has been so uncomfortable, but what I do know is how necessary all the shape shifting and all this pruning will be for the many seasons that are still to come for me. But at this moment, I'd like to just give a huge, massive shout out to my tribe, to every single person that has contributed to making my year easier and more special in some way or another. Thank you so much for being a part of my village. Thank you so much. Like, so much. I appreciate it more than words could ever describe. It means so much to me. Thank you. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast and for being a part of my journey and for your endless kindness and love. I see it, and I appreciate you for always pressing play. Please keep safe and have a great time. See you guys in 2025. Mandisa Singwane, over and out. Check in soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye, guys. And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening in today. I hope this episode was beneficial and enjoyable. Don't forget to leave a rating and a comment. Until next time, have a great and productive week. Check in soon.